Hello everyone, this is Cheryl. Welcome to my channel. Today I would like to share with you my most recent junk journal that I've completed. This is a late 1800s women's fashion junk journal, and I've repurposed a Reader's Digest book cover for this project, and I've aged some fabric and covered it, and I've done a textile lace collage on the front, and I've used a combination of new and vintage lace for this, and have some antique buttons that has the original thread still intact. We have a metal embellishment that has a woman's face imprinted into the metal, and we have a rusty safety pin that I got from Denise's shop, A Tattered Dream, and one of her lace frames. On this frame, they come pretty stark white, but I dipped it once in my antiquing solution and rinsed it immediately and then dried it, so it just has a subtle antique look to it. If you soaked it and then, a couple times and just left it, they do get a little darker. So, but I just think those are great for putting on the fronts of junk journals. I just want to give a shout out. Denise is awesome. She's very supportive of me and very generous, and so I really just appreciate her. And so I'm sure everybody shops there, but if you don't, please go check her store out. She is just a pleasure to deal with. The image on the front of this is from my Antique Peterson's women's magazine, and I've used quite a few images throughout this journal, and of course I'll point those out, but it says everyday dresses and garments, etc. So let's go inside. I've used a sari silk lace closure. This is I purchased this from Stephanie's shop, Etsy shop. It's the Vintage Journal Studio, I believe is the name. I'll leave the link below. She has lots of wonderful things for journal artists. In this junk journal, I've used 4 of Julie's digital kits from the old design shop, and this is one of them. It's the Victorian ladies cards, and I've used these as journaling cards, and I've also used them as embellishments on the covers of each of the signatures, and they're great because they were kind of, my signature covers were kind of blah, so I think it really helped. And then I've used the Vintage Ephemera Feminine. This has quite a few pages. This is just one of the pages out of it, and I've used all 3 of these images in the book too. But let's begin going through it real quick. This is from my antique magazine, and I just made a journaling card out of that page. And this is some vintage fabric that has some lace trim. This is some vintage lace that I did age up a little bit more. And this is one of those cards, and I just backed it onto H paper and deckled the edge a little to give it a little more antique look. And I added some of the measuring tape trim that I aged up a little bit. And this is from the Graphics Fairy. I belong to their membership site, and this is one of their printables in there. I just tied it up and deckled the edge a little to give it a vintage look. And this is an image from my antique magazine, and I've printed out in each of the signatures these lovely ladies on vellum, and that way you can write behind it, and then I made a little tuck to hold it down in place. And most of the pages I think in here were antiqued with my vanilla technique, and then I've sewn around the edges And this is from Screech Owl Studios. It was a French themed kit that she had that I bought a while back that I thought the coloring and stuff went well for this journal. And this tuck is from my antique magazine. Some antiqued plain music paper, and this is from my antique magazine. I just made a little flip out and way you can journal behind it. This is some antique tracing paper. This is from one of Julie's digital kits. Just thought I'd make use of the antique dictionary page. This is from an image from Mrs. Cog's Etsy store, and some vintage ledger. This was a printable from Nick the Booksmith, either a freebie from one of her classes or from one of her digital kits. And these beautiful images are from Julie's shop, the old design shop, her Etsy store. And of course, I'll make sure I list all the links. This is a vintage lace collar. Just thought it made a nice tuck spot. And this image here too is backed onto some aged paper. So, and let's keep going. Okay, this some ledger, and this is just from my antique magazine. I took 2 pages, scanned it, reduced it down, and then just folded it to make a little booklet. I put some age seam binding on there. This image is from the Graphics Fairy membership site, and I've just attached it to my embossed belly band and put it on the antique dictionary. I've layered some spots on the dictionary pages so you can actually journal on the pages. Some tracing paper, and then another image from the Graphics Fairy. And this is another digital kit from Julie's shop. And this one is, I think it's the Victorian Ladies Pages, which is a pretty big kit too, and I've used some of these in here as well. And this is from my antique magazine, and it's just again on vellum and a little flip up. Another page from the antique magazine. Just deckled the edges. Oh, and then I just did like a collage in the corner because there was some stitching that looked a little messy, so I thought, well, I'll cover that up and layer some lace and textiles on there. And this is another start to a signature. And of course, another page from my antique magazine. Use some vintage lace, some vintage seam binding. And this is actually vintage rickrack that I added to this vellum flip up. That it went well because of her dress detailing. And another little tuck spot from the magazine. And of course, one of those journaling cards from Julie's kit. I guess we'll just leave that. And some antique notebooks, some antiqued notebook paper, and some antique music paper, antique dictionary. This is the full version of the image on the front, and I have backed it onto some aged paper. And this is some advertising page from another one of my magazines, and I just I printed it out on handmade paper and made a little pocket, and I've used some images from a Mrs. Cog's kit, and then we have a shoe advertisement, 2 little tags, a little lace flip up, and this is handmade paper. It comes out, so it is long, but I don't want to wrinkle it any before I send it off to its new owner. This is another image from Julie's kit. Some antique music paper. This beautiful advertisement from one of her kits. Another page from the magazine. And the start of the third signature. Some more vintage lace. Another magazine page. Another flip up. Oops. Another one of those little booklets I made with 2 pages out of the magazine. Reduced it down, printed it out. I'll just try to get, oh, and this is another image from her kit. I just made a little tuck spot so you can tuck something back there. Another one of the Victorian ladies cards. And this is an envelope that I made after watching Sakita's envelope tutorial. I think it was from 2016, but it was my take on her tutorial. And this is just another one of those Victorian cards. Tucked in there. And another advertisement from one of my antique magazines. And then inside, I have another Mrs. Coggs image. This is from my collection of cabinet cards. I thought she looked pretty fashionable, so I put her in there. And then this bag is from Denise's shop, A Tattered Dream. She has all different sizes. And this is another image from that digital kit from Julie's. Some dictionary page I left alone. You can always add some paper to it if you want more journaling space. Another advertisement for some women's fashion, ephemera piece from Tim Holtz. And this is some real primitive paper, but I loved how the embossed foil, when I was antiquing it in the oven, took on the imprint from that embossed foil. So I thought somebody might like to journal on that. This is a belly band from Screech Owl Studios. It was just a belly band kit, and so I love the colors, so I thought it went well in here. Another page from my antique magazine, and another little collage. Added one of the rusty safety pins from Denise's shop, a little antique button, some sari silk, and some lace. This is vintage lace too. And we are on to the 4th signature, some new lace. Another page from my antique magazine. These are all reprints. I just want to make that clear, and I've deckled the edges. So. And on this vellum print, I ended up just turning it into a pocket and putting in 2 journaling cards in there. And this is part of that digital kit from Julie's shop. I just turned it into a little flip by sewing some fabric onto the edge. And another one of those images. And one of the cards. And dictionary page. And these are some antique cards that Denise had in her shop. I love these. Not sure if she has any more in there or not. I need to go check that out because I really love those. And this is a garment tag, a vintage one. And this is a vintage receipt and another advertisement from digital kit from Julie's. And this image here is from my antique magazine. I love how it turned out with the stitching, and it's backed onto aged paper. And this is some of my antique medical ledger pages, so I included one of those. And some matte papers and aged notebook. This is some aged handmade paper. I'll just flip through here. Lots of areas to journal in this journal. It doesn't have too much stuff in it. These are some images from Mrs. Coggs. I just backed it onto some aged paper, and another one of my cabinet cards that I put onto aged paper. A nice little tuck. And I think this lace is some that Stephanie, the Vintage Journal Studio, sent me with my Sari Silk. And another one of those beautiful images from the magazine on vellum. We'll flip up. I don't know if you've noticed during this video, this is a cookie sheet that I have, and it takes on when I antique my paper, it takes on that. So I kind of like the uniqueness of that. And another image from the magazine, and that's it. And just the last little card, and another one of those. I cut it down a little shorter to make an embellishment for this pocket. This is made out of handmade paper. So, but that's it. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to view this. I'm going to be also doing a junk journal flip through of a bird watcher's journal. So I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Take care. Bye, everyone.